Here we go. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today, where we're going to take a look at how to manage SolidWorks files within Windchill PLM. My name is Rob Romanowski. I'm the Director of Sales Operations with 3HTI, and leading our presentation and live demo of the SolidWorks Workgroup Manager is Daniel Gamos from the Virtual Center of Excellence with PTC. Very excited about today's webinar. There's a lot of people that use SolidWorks out there. A lot of people that use SolidWorks and Creo. And most people who use SolidWorks have an issue and a challenge managing their data. SolidWorks files tend to be tricky. There's a lot of associative files with SolidWorks. So Windchill PLM does a great job in managing SolidWorks, whether it's for a product data management standpoint or for a PLM strategy. If you have any questions while we're going through the webinar, feel free to type those into the Q&A session. We'll answer those as we go, but we'll definitely answer those by the end of the webinar. And Daniel, you can lead us now, my friend.
Thanks for that, Rob. So,
Thanks for being on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Just to start off, a quick introduction into Windchill Workgroup Manager. It's known for being an application that seamlessly integrates Windchill with your CAD authoring tool. In this case, it's going to be SolidWorks, and it's going to allow you to manage all of that CAD data inside of the Windchill system. And just to start off, I'll go and talk about some of the challenges. And these are some challenges that we see in the industry also coming from our customers, and it will help us develop this tool. And that's going to start first. We see a lot of customers using different CAD systems within the enterprise, and they always have the question, how do you manage all of that information? Next on, they're using uncontrolled ways of managing this data, which becomes tough to make sure that the right version of the design is the one that's been worked on. And there's a lot of overriding happening in the design, which ends up in being reworked. And lastly, for that, there's also a limited version control that we see a lot. So meaning that they do not have the latest information or the latest design visual. Now, the good thing for that, we have the solution, which is going to be Windchill Workgroup Manager, in this case for SolidWorks. And this is a solution that's going to be running alongside of the CAD application that you're going to be working with and allow you to manage all that information within one single source, which is going to be Windchill. Now, what we're going to do is jump more into detail of the capabilities. And that's going to start with the embedded data management tools. And that's the ability to have basically a tab that's going to be embedded within SolidWorks with Windchill functionalities to no need to leave the tool. So you can perform these Windchill actions right within the SolidWorks tool. This is going to be a seamless integration with SolidWorks. And again, as I mentioned before, it's going to be running alongside with Windchill. And lastly, this is an enterprise level visualization. So Windchill is going to provide that visualization, no different than with SolidWorks. So whenever you publish the CAD, you have that lightweight representation that Windchill always offers. So that's going to be just for a better understanding of the solution. We jumped and talked about some challenges, capabilities, the solution itself. What we can do now, we can go ahead and jump over to a demonstration. So we can actually see how does this look like, what are some other capabilities that we can do with the tool, and go through a scenario into how we could use this. All right. And here we are now in the home screen of Windchill. And as always, whenever we're in Windchill, we are under sign users. In this case, we're going to be under the role of James, who's a design engineer. And he's going to be running this in the Workgroup Manager with SolidWorks. Just to start over, we're going to browse through some folders into a product documentation that we have, just to see the information that we have. Now we see here we have our different CAD data. And for this case, we're going to be working with the SolidWorks data. Now that we see that, we'll dive into a specific product. That's the one that we're going to be using for this demonstration. And once we open the product, we can go and get more information about it. So what we're doing right now is simple Windchill navigation, looking into our products, information, and now we're more into this structure where we can have that visualization, interrogate the model, and understand more of the structure of this assembly. And the idea for this demonstration is that we're going to be working into a specific part of this model. So we have here, again, James, who's a designer, and he's taking a look at some CAD data that he has in here in Windchill and wants to look more into a specific part of the model, which in this case is going to be the footplate. He sees that something is not wrong. Maybe you have a designer that wants to make a change into a design. We can look also into our attributes information. And what we can do is click on the image here, and it's gonna load up preview light. And what is this is, it's just a lightweight representation tool, which is automatically, it's built out for you whenever you check in an item in Windchill. And basically what we do here, we can do some markups, add nodes, take out some distances, measurements. But the idea here is basically saying we have our designer and he wants to notify our design engineers that there's a change that needs to be done to these specific components. So here we need to change the pad size, for example, in this case. And these markups can also be done for PDF files, drawings, and more. So what we'll do now is just save this as an annotation set, and this is going to be saved directly with the actual part of the pad that it's in Windchill. So whenever the design engineer comes into to make this change, he's going to be able to see that annotation and really understand what needs to be done. So whenever we go here to the footplate and see the word use, we can see that drawing that we have. So what we do now, we'll go into SolidWorks and we'll see how we can directly open these parts that are inside of Windchill directly from the tool. So we can dive into the same folders and browsers that we did on Windchill, but now through the tool of SolidWorks. And we can go ahead and pull that part information, again, directly from the Windchill database, all within SolidWorks. And once that opens up, the first thing we realize is that we have the Windchill tab, which give us those Windchill functionalities, such as the checkout and check-in, for example. And we'll start by checking out this part. And now that we saw the note with the change that we have to do, we'll go ahead and start making the modifications that were requested. And just adjust some sizes in here. We're going to change the pad size as we were tasked by the designer, James. And once we're done with that, we'll make sure to make another more noticeable change since that's a small plate. We will not see that much in Windchill. We'll just change the color to be more aware of it once we go into Windchill. Right, so we have done our changes and we can also look into our properties. Another thing we can do is directly from the SolidWorks tool, we can rename the attribute information that's going to be reflected then in Windchill. So again, if you have some designers that always like to work within SolidWorks and they can have those Windchill functionalities right within the SolidWorks tool and they don't have to leave the tool. Now we'll just save this file. And once we save that, we'll put it into our workspace back into Windchill. Now, if you have any questions for the workspace, what the workspace is, it basically lets you designers download files that they have in their local machines to work on before they save any other changes to the server. So give you more of an environment where you can work on files, even offline, and you can check out files in this location and also once you're ready, you can share those changes that you made and check them back into the server and have those changes saved and viewable to everybody in the system once we're done with that. So we can see that in here, we have our item that is checked out. We can see the icon in here. And you might be thinking what might be a big benefit for the workspace. So a big benefit is that you're not working with the files directly from the server. So you're able to explore the model designs and make changes and not have them applied to the server and shared amongst everybody until you're ready to do that. So that's also going to prevent designers, let's say, and engineers from overriding each other's works and also creating duplicate parts. So we'll continue here. And now we can go ahead and change some attachments once we do our check-in. We'll go in and grab our files that we have. And just define some categorization. And once we're done with that, we'll save it. All right. Now we can do a check-in back into Windchill, and we'll be able to see our new part that has been changed, right? So we started first by making some markups into the model that needed to be changed. We went into SolidWorks, directly accessed the data that's residing in Windchill from the SolidWorks tool. We made the change, and now we check that back into Windchill, and now we have our new part with the changes in Windchill. And we can see that here we have reflected. So that blue color that we have, we're seeing the part with the change. Now, the next thing we're gonna do is gonna be to open a draw from Windchill. And from there, we're gonna be showing how we can go directly into SolidWorks from the Windchill side. So here we're just looking for a drawing. Once we open it up, and when we go into the actions, it's gonna give us the option to open it in SolidWorks. Now, the idea here is that we're gonna start making some changes into our drawings. And what we wanna do is that we want to insert a component into our assembly. Now, once we make that new component, the drawing is gonna update and a new part is gonna be created based on that new component. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna access the CAD file for that assembly directly again in SolidWorks. So we are not leaving SolidWorks. Now that we have our model, we can start our process, which in this case, we're just gonna insert a new component. So a new part is created. And we're gonna be working with creating an extrusion for a rod. So we'll go ahead and make that creation very quickly. All right, we'll extrude that. And now we'll have our new part shortly. Okay, let's check that. All right, and now we have the rod that has been extruded. And if we check back with our drawing and our model, we're gonna have a new part that has been added. And there we have our new part that has been added. And if we open it up, we can see it. And we can even add a new property for a new part because we want that information also to reflect on the Windchill side. So we can manage those properties directly from the SolidWorks tool and have those properties be attached also to the Windchill side. So again, we'll go here, so we'll save it to the workspace. And we can go ahead and check out the SolidWorks assembly. So now that we have our PTC tab of Windchill in SolidWorks, we can have those functionalities. We also see here that our drawing has been updated with the new part. And we'll continue. We see that we have a new local file, which is the RUT that was created. We can see all our drawing and the assembly that's been checked out. And we'll just go ahead and check it in. And we'll do an auto association of parts to CAD documents, and basically, so it automatically creates a WT parts out of the CAD structure. So that new rod will have a new WT part created. Now, we'll see that the information is updated in our table, and we can see that the new rod was added. And there we see our assembly. And as simple as that, we can see that our new part has been added and we can display it. And if we go into the structure, we would also be able to see our new part. So it's a very easy way to work with SolidWorks and access that data in Windchill. We see how we can work directly into SolidWorks, have those Windchill functionalities. And if we go into Windchill, we'll be able to see all the work that we have done. Now we can see all of the information related to the specific parts. We can see the properties that we assign directly into SolidWorks are now reflected here on the Windchill side. And if we go back to our related objects, we can see where that part is coming from, the assembly that's in, and all the information. All right, and we can see here our assembly. So next thing we're gonna do here is basically we feel as the designers that the information has been completed. We have our models, we have made our changes as requested. So the next thing is gonna be to go ahead and make it from one stage to the next one. So we'll take all the information from the in-work stage, in this case, and we'll put it into our release stage. So we're gonna start a new promotion request process. And we'll select the product that we're working with or design, which is ready for release. Select all the components that we want to include in this request. And once we're done with that, the next step is going to be to select the participants that we want to include in this new promotion request process. So for this case, I'm going to assign myself as the reviewer, so I can then see how I have a task to actually review this promotion request. So in this case, I'm going to be Pat, which is the product manager, and I'll be an approver in this case. So now as an approver, if I go back to the home on Windchill, I'll have my tasks that are assigned to me. And I can see they have an approved promotion request that was sent. And basically here, as an approver, what I'll do, I'll just have to check that all the information that's being promoted, if it's all good, I can go ahead and approve it and add some comments into it. So very simple process. I'll approve this in this case and complete the task. And now what we're gonna have is we're gonna have an approved state for that design. And we can see that it updates in the tables. Instead of here we see that change that has been made. And we're all good to go. Now, another thing we can do in Windchill is that we can reuse a lot of information. So what we're gonna do here is for this product, we're gonna do a save as. So what we're gonna do in this case is we're gonna put the same information into work without affecting the release design, just for reusing purposes. So we're just gonna use the same product with all the components, and we're just gonna change the name. So maybe we want to continue work and do some improvements, but we do not want to touch or affect the product that has been released. So we'll start with that, and we can go ahead and take a look into the information. We see here setting up the changes for the name that we want to do, just for us to see that reflection. And as simple as that, we have done the change of naming, and we can go ahead and look now into the information with the changes. Once we refresh this, so what we're gonna have now is that we're gonna have brand new versions for our drawings, and we're gonna see that our naming conventions have changed. So for example, here, if we open it up, we see that we have now an 8.1 version, so a first version, and also we have that SA in the name. So we can continue work or improve the product that we already released without affecting the released product. All right. And we can open this up in SolidWorks. And we also see here that our drawings have also changed names as well. So we have a brand new version from our drawings, and same idea that we have with our products inside of Windchill. All right, so we saw how we have been changing between SolidWorks and Windchill, how we have the functionalities of Windchill inside of SolidWorks. We saw how we can do a new release request, how we can be an approver, and how does that process work within Windchill. Now, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna perform a search within Windchill, and we're gonna look at some bolt configuration. So once we look at that, this is gonna be a family tree type of bolt, and they have multiple instances under a generic and bolts, and they would like to see how that could be managed in Windchill. So we'll pull up a facility tab in here. We'll just rename this tab. And we can see now the different bolts that we have within specifications, which are all housed within Windchill. And we can see here our bolts. And if we want to, we can see our family, see all the different specifications again. And what we want to add all of the configurations to the workspace because we want to start working on them. So the idea here is that we'll send it back to the workspace so we can check them out and start working on them. And we can go ahead and go into SolidWorks and create new configurations to understand how this is going to be implemented and managed in Windchill. So once we're done that, we'll go ahead and jump into SolidWorks and start creating that new configuration. And to do that, I'll just start by naming my configuration before I start with the changes. And just gonna have some basic configurations by changing the size of the bolts in here. Now that I have my naming, I'll start working on that configuration of the model and change some of the geometry of it to meet the naming convention that I gave. Change that to 1. All right. Now that we have changed the geometry, I can also perform more custom properties, again, which are going to be reflected back in Windchill. So we can manage those properties directly in SolidWorks. Now that we check that back into the system, we're going to be able to see our new bolt configuration into the workspace, which we can check in back into Windchill. So as simple as that, we brought in a family of bolts into SolidWorks, made the change and back into Windchill, and we can manage all that information. And we see our bolt now housed between inside of Windchill. So that's going to be part for the demonstration of the SolidWorks Workgroup Manager in Windchill. And just to finish off the demonstration part, I just want to go over one last PowerPoint slide that's going to talk more of the benefits that this solution brings into the table. And that's going to start first by just standardizing on one PLM platform that can handle multiple CAD systems. We see how it can handle SolidWorks in this case, how you can have those functionalities in SolidWorks. They're the same functionalities that you have in Windchill. So for those users that are only using SolidWorks and do not want to go into Windchill, they have the same capabilities and can have those functionalities. It's also going to reduce the amount of scrap and rework. Why? Because there's a traceability into who has a part open. There's no overwriting. There's avoidance for redesign. And basically, we can see what's going on and the changes that has been made. And also, if we already release a product, we saw how we can save a new version to take advantage of that reuse and keep modifying the model without affecting our released product. And lastly, because of the first two bullet points and all of the capabilities that Windchill has, is going to accelerate the time to market. That's going to be for the demonstration of Windchill Workgroup Manager with SolidWorks.
Excellent, Daniel. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate your time. So if anybody has any further questions or would like to get a custom demo on anything Windchill in relation to SolidWorks or just Windchill in general or anything Creo, you can respond to the emails that were sent out inviting you to this webinar, or you can email us at info at 3hti.com. Hope you guys are seeing value out of these. I'll have this posted to our YouTube page by tomorrow and send out a link to the recording to everybody who attended, or I'm sorry, everybody who registered. Next Thursday at noon, we are going to have a Creo webinar focusing on Creo Flow, which is the computational fluid dynamics tool or extension for Creo, and it works really well. This thing's dynamic. If you have any need for CFD or think that you might have a need for CFD, you definitely want to check this out because it's a fantastic tool. We have a CFD expert on staff who is singing the praises of this extension. And one of the things that we do here at 3HTI is we just don't, promote things for the sake of promoting things. We test them and make sure that they're going to add value to the customer and basically help solve a problem. So we look forward to hosting you next week. And like I said, I'll have this sent out to you, the recording sent out to you sometime tomorrow. So Daniel, thanks again for your help, and everybody, thank you for being on. Have a great day, and hopefully it's good weather where you are in the country. I know it is here on the East Coast. So enjoy, everybody. Take care.